All right, I will have Beth hop on just to get through some of that for us.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. So glad to have you all here. Apparently, I'm having audio issues today. But we did figure out the issue with the unique offer codes. So hopefully you got an email from me stating that you should be receiving new and functioning offer codes from your program administrator. So if you got one that worked, but the second two didn't work, you will be receiving two or three, however many you've been allotted, new offer codes. So you will get those shortly from your program administrator. Lori K has not received any of them. Well, that's not good. Lori, which area are you from? Isabella County. Okay, I will check on that. That might actually work out better for your administrator because then they just have to send one email with all Jeremiah. I'm guessing you guys are all from the same area because each region I learned is sending them all or is sending them differently. So Midland area maybe have already gone out, whereas Alpena may have not, or Isabella area has not. So um, maybe if you'd like to stay on the line after the call, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, we can kind of talk through that, and that's Montmorency County, Atlanta, Michigan. Okay, know where that is. Um, so that's probably similar, kind of northwest, northeast. But everybody, all the people I've worked with on the MyMichigan end know what's going on. They have the new unique offer codes that our team here at Meyer has worked on for them. And then I have a meeting with all of those MyMichigan people next week to kind of talk through some of the issues that we've come up with this time around. And we knew there would be since this is our first cohort, our pilot cohort. So we're working through some of the issues that have happened, and we appreciate all of your patience as we're trying to work out some of those kinks. So thank you for being our guinea pigs, if you will. But you should be receiving those unique offer codes via email or the vouchers via mail, snail mail. So hopefully you will get them soon. I can't tell you when because I'm not the one sending them out, but that's one of the thoughts I had for next time is maybe we at Meyer would be the ones who sent them out so we could be able to answer your questions a little bit more quickly and so we didn't need to be the middlemen for you all. But with that being said, there is a handout that is in the modules that goes through how you can put your unique offer codes into your MPerks. If anybody has any trouble once they receive their unique offer codes, feel free to reach out. We can happily walk you through how to do that. And then the vouchers should be pretty self-explanatory. Those are just like cash that you take to the store. If you do have any questions, I will be on the line after the call and you can answer your questions and I can answer a little bit more directly as well. So I'll hand it back to Jody and she's going to talk about plant forward eating today. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. So today we're going to talk about plant forward eating. Let me, there we go. All right, so this is week 5 of 6. Can't believe we're coming up on our last week next week. You've already been able to meet all 3 of us dietitians, so really excited to jump into this week's education. So plant-forward eating is rooted in wellness, flexibility, and a variety. It doesn't require perfection or an all or nothing approach. So today we're going to focus on realistic ways to put more fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, nuts, and seeds on the plate. Plant forward eating is a spectrum. So you may have heard of these different plant-based diets. So if someone says they are vegetarian, this means that they eat no meat, but they may include dairy, fish, and eggs. So that's definitely based on their preferences. If someone says they are vegan, that means they exclude all animal-derived foods, including meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, and other animal products like honey or gelatin. Some people may not know, but even marshmallows would be excluded from this as marshmallows are not vegan and contain gelatin. If someone is pescatarian, they eat fish and seafood, but avoid other types of meat. They may also include dairy and eggs in their diet, so personal preferences here. And then finally, the flexitarian. This is someone who primarily follows a vegetarian diet, but occasionally includes meat or fish. So when we talk about plant-forward eating, we place plant foods at the center of the meal with not necessarily eliminating animal foods. And I think the best approach is one that meets your nutrition needs, preferences, culture, budget, and overall lifestyle. When you're eating a plant-based diet, we want to have a planned plant-based diet, as this can provide excellent nutrition, but also requires nutrients to have some extra attention. So vitamin B12 is one of the vitamins to think about consuming when you are focusing on eating more plant-based. And the role of vitamin B12 is essential for nerve function, DNA synthesis, and red blood cell formation. So if someone is deficient or doesn't have enough B12, this means they may have some fatigue, anemia, they may have some tingling or memory problems. So some of those neurological issues might be coming up. And we want to focus on fortified foods to get enough B12, as most of our vitamin B12 typically comes from meats. So fortified foods like plant milks, cereals, nutritional yeast, or supplements. And when you're looking at a fortified food, it will tell you on the label what it is fortified with. Another mineral to think about is iron. So this carries oxygen in the blood and supports the processes your body uses to turn food into energy. So if someone is deficient or doesn't have enough iron, they may feel fatigue, weakness, pale skin, shortness of breath, dizziness, or they may even have iron deficiency anemia. Some good sources are beans, lentils, tofu, leafy greens, fortified cereals. Again, it will tell you on that box of cereal if it's fortified with iron. And when you're consuming iron, one of the things to think about is you want to consume it with a good source of vitamin C. This will support and enhance the absorption of that iron. So maybe you're going to have a fortified cereal and you're going to eat a clementine or an orange with it, or maybe you're going to have a glass of orange juice. So this will help with that iron absorption. One thing to think about is if you're eating something that is a good source of iron, you don't want to necessarily be consuming calcium at the same time. And we'll talk about calcium here in just a minute. But calcium and iron compete for absorption. So if you're really trying to maximize one of those two absorptions, I do recommend eating them at different times of the day. And then calcium is another nutrient that we want to focus on if we're consuming a plant-based diet, as this can help build and maintain strong bones and teeth. It is essential for muscle contractions, nerve signaling, our heart rhythm, and blood clotting. So you may notice you're having increased fracture risk because our bones are weaker. You can find a good source of calcium in fortified plant milks, tofu, leafy greens like kale or bok choy. And with calcium, you want to pair it with vitamin D for greater absorption. Another vitamin to think about to make sure we're getting enough of when we're focusing on a plant-based diet is vitamin D, as this helps the body absorb calcium to build and maintain those strong bones and teeth. It also supports our muscle function, immune health, and overall bone strength. So some symptoms you might notice are bone pain, muscle weakness, increased infection risk. This is commonly found in shiitake mushrooms or portobello mushrooms, and then our fortified foods like plant-based milks and orange juice. And then supplementation is especially important during the winter months, since we all live here in Michigan and don't get a whole bunch of daylight or sunshine during the winter months. It's really important to think about including that in your diet. One really interesting fact that I learned about mushrooms and vitamin D is that if you put your mushrooms outside in the UV light, they can absorb more vitamin D from the sun, from those UV rays. And then when we consume them, they'll have a higher um, potency of vitamin D in them for our body. So something really interesting, if you do have mushrooms, set them out in the sun for a little bit and they'll get a little bit more vitamin D in within the mushroom. Omega 3s are another thing to think about. So these support our heart and brain health by helping reduce inflammation, maintain healthy cell membranes, support our normal cholesterol and triglyceride levels. They also play an important role in our vision, cognitive function, and overall cardiovascular health. So symptoms, if you're lacking omega-3 fatty acids, are going to be dry skin, brittle hair and nails, joint stiffness, and even it can impact our mood. Some good plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids are going to be flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. If you are consuming fish in your diet, some good omega-3 fatty acids for fish are going to be sardines, mackerel, anchovy, salmon, and herring. So think of the acronym SMASH. Those are all going to have good omega-3 fatty acids. And then finally, zinc. This supports our immune function, helps with wound healing, and plays a key role in cell growth, DNA synthesis, and protein production. You may notice you're having hair loss, brittle nails, skin rashes, or slow wound healing. You'll find good sources of zinc in our pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds, and tofu. So from these two slides, you may notice that many of the symptoms for these different nutrient deficiencies are very similar. That's why it's really important to have a variety of different plant-based foods within your diet to make sure we're getting all of these vitamins and minerals. There are many benefits of eating a plant-forward diet. There's a lower risk of chronic disease. So diets that are rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds are associated with lower risks of chronic disease, such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and obesity. Plant-forward diets tend to be lower in calories and saturated fat and higher in fiber, which makes it easier to maintain a healthy weight. Plant foods are also higher in fiber, which supports our gut health, regular digestion, and helps maintain healthy cholesterol levels. And then many of our plant foods contain antioxidants and phytonutrients that help reduce inflammation in the body. There are many, many benefits for consuming a plant-forward diet. This leads us into plant-based proteins. So if we're not eating meat, we want to make sure that we're getting enough protein in our diet. And protein is made up of amino acids. There are 9 of those amino acids that are considered essential, and this is because our body cannot make these. So a complete protein contains all 9 of the essential amino acids our body needs, but cannot produce on its own. Like I said, most of our animal-based foods are going to be complete proteins, but some plant-based foods are incomplete, meaning they're lacking one or more of those essential amino acids that our body cannot make. So some good sources or complete plant-based proteins are going to be soy. And examples of soy is going to be tofu, tempeh, edamame, soy milk, quinoa, buckwheat, amaranth, chia seeds, hemp seeds, and pistachios are all going to be considered complete plant-based proteins. Now, we still want to include other plant-based foods in our diet. They just may not be a complete protein, which is totally fine. So our grains and legumes, so pairing different plant foods together helps fill in the gaps and add variety to your plate. Combining legumes like beans, lentils, or chickpeas with whole grains or nuts and seeds can create a complete amino acid profile. So putting 2 incomplete protein sources together can make a complete pairing. One thing to note here is that you don't necessarily have to eat these complementary foods at the same time. As long as you're eating these throughout the day, you can get those complete proteins throughout the day. Now we want to think about how do we build a plant-forward plate. We have seen this image before with our basics of healthy eating plate, how to build a healthy plate, but this one is building a balanced plant-forward plate. So we want to think about making our plate, half of it being fruits and vegetables, quarter of the plate being whole grains like quinoa, oats, brown rice, and limiting those refined grains like white bread, white rice, and pastries. So thinking about our whole grains there. And then a quarter of the plate being a plant-based protein. This could be beans, lentils, tofu, tempeh, edamame. So thinking and replacing that meat protein with a plant-based protein. And then always on the side, we can think about having water or a non-sugar sweetened beverage and our healthy oils like avocado oil or olive oil. So we have the plate that gave us a good picture of what the plate should look like, but many of us may say, okay, where do we start? We want to think about doing small, doable steps that you can maybe even start this week if you want. A lot of people I know do one meatless meal a week, and typically they call it Meatless Monday. So maybe you start with a favorite dish you already like to make, like tacos, chili, or stir fry. But maybe now we're making bean tacos or a veggie chili or stir fry with tofu instead of meat. Or you could add beans or lentils to one of your recipes, a familiar recipe you already make, like soups, pasta sauces, salads, tacos. Adding beans to a meal can really stretch the meal and make it go further. So maybe you have more leftovers, and it also adds that fiber. Maybe you want to try to make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. Fresh, frozen, and canned all count towards fruits and vegetables. And frozen and canned, as we learned about eating on a budget, are going to be more friendly year round. Maybe you're going to try new whole grains. So you're going to swap quinoa, farro, barley, or brown rice in place of a white rice or white bread. And just think about building one habit at a time. Progress, not perfection. Small, repeatable changes are the ones that stick. So make it something that you know you could maybe try weekly to increase more plants in your diet. Here are some easy plant protein swaps that you could try this week if you're interested. Instead of ground beef, maybe trying lentils or black beans. Those are a good substitute. Chicken, you could do tofu or tempeh. And with tofu, it's really interesting. So you can marinate tofu. One thing I always tell people, you don't have to have a tofu press to make tofu at home. Put your tofu on a plate, put another kitchen plate over it, and then put something heavy on that plate. I know at home I like to load books on top of my tofu, so that way it's pressed and the excess liquid can come out. You can marinate tofu just like you do with any other meat. Instead of sour cream, maybe you're trying plain Greek yogurt or hummus as, a dip or a spread. And then instead of regular pasta, trying a chickpea or lentil pasta. There are many different brands out there, but I know Banza is a familiar one for people to try. We also want to stock our pantry so that it's plant forward. So here, this breaks down the different categories of what would be some good options to have available. And many of these items are going to be shelf stable. So thinking about oatmeal, quinoa, our bean-based pastas or brown rice. All of our canned goods are going to be great options. So we're coming into fall. So maybe pumpkin puree is something we're going to stock up on, or any of our diced tomatoes for chilies. I always like to have some sort of nut butter. So whatever butter you like in your pantry, whether it's almond butter or it's peanut butter, sunflower butter, and then any of our frozen foods like brown rice, edamame, frozen quinoa, any of our frozen vegetables. All of these are so nice to have in the freezer and are a great addition to add to your meals. And they're really quick if you can especially throw them into the microwave for a few minutes. I see a question in the chat. Have you heard that if you cook rice, then freeze it, it reduces the glycemic index? I have not heard that with rice. However, I have heard it with potatoes, that you can decrease the glycemic index with that. So we can get back to you, Lori, if you're interested on that, on the research on rice. But I do know that is the case with potatoes. Okay, we can get back to you on that one. Awesome. So this leads us into, while we eat more plants, we're going to increase our fiber because plants have more fiber, and our good sources of fiber are going to come from our fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. I do have the recommendations here for women and men. So for women, we're looking for 21 to 25 grams per day, and men 30 to 38 grams per day. Here I have a table that I put together of just some good sources of fiber. So here, raspberries for a cup. I think many of us could probably eat a cup. 8 grams of fiber. One pear is going to have 5.5 grams. An apple with skin is going to have 4.5 grams. So really thinking about the fruits and vegetables that have skins, consuming that skin because that's where a good chunk of the fiber is. Green peas, 9 grams, broccoli, 5 grams. And then for our whole grains, quinoa, 5 grams. A half cup of oatmeal is going to give you 4 grams. And then our whole wheat bread for a slice is going to give 2 grams. So here there's a variety of different good fiber sources, depending on if it's a fruit, vegetable, or whole grains. So fiber's great, and we're going to be eating more when we focus on plants. So what are the benefits of consuming fiber? It's going to add bulk and slow digestion, so helping you feel fuller will support your appetite control and weight management. If we feel fuller longer, we're not going to eat as much food or consume as many calories. It's also going to support our blood sugar. So fiber slows down sugar absorption in our bloodstream. So this prevents spikes in our blood glucose, and this can improve our day-to-day glycemic control. It's also going to help with cholesterol reduction. So soluble fiber binds to the cholesterol in our digestive tract. This helps lower our LDL, or our bad cholesterol, and protects our heart. So I always think about LDL, we want to be low. They both start with L. And then finally, fiber feeds our beneficial gut bacteria and promotes regular, comfortable digestion, easing constipation. So as you increase your plants, your fiber intake, I always tell people, as we increase fiber, we want to make sure we increase our fluid intake. This can help ease digestion, ease bloating. So really think about increase fiber, increase your fluid or water intake. And also another thing to mention here is different fibers serve different purposes, which is another reason we want to be eating a variety of different plant foods. So I wanted to throw this in here that organic and conventional produce both provide vitamins, minerals, fiber, and phytonutrients, and just kind of give the difference of what they look like. So organic produce is grown under defined agricultural standards. Organic produce follows a set rules for how crops are cultivated and handled. Whether you buy it often reflects individual values or preferences through healthy eating does not depend on it. Whereas conventional produce is grown using established agricultural practices and is safe, nutritious, and an affordable choice. It provides the same essential vitamins, minerals, and fiber as our organic produce. So as far as the nutrition and how nutritious the food is, organic and conventional produce are the same. They're going to provide you, the same nutrients in both of those foods. It's just the difference in how they are grown. So the Dirty Dozen is a list used by shoppers who want to prioritize certain organic foods. The Dirty Dozen are 12 fruits and vegetables that contain the highest levels of pesticide residue when conventionally grown. So we're thinking about spinach, strawberries, kale, collard and mustard greens, grapes, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, blackberries, blueberries, potatoes, bell, and hot peppers. And I think one thing we've really learned and we should be doing as best practice is just washing all of our fruits and vegetables. That should be something we're doing before we eat it, no matter what, especially, as we've seen this summer. So we want to make sure no matter buying conventional or organic, we're washing our produce. And again, the health benefit of eating produce is more important than avoiding fruits and vegetables because an organic option is not available or is unaffordable. So really, we want to make sure we're focusing on getting fruits and vegetables in. On the other hand, there's the clean 15. So what is the clean 15? These are fruits and vegetables with the lowest amounts of pesticide residue. These are going to be avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, cabbage, sweet peas, onions, asparagus, mangoes, papayas, kiwi, eggplant, grapefruit, cantaloupe, cauliflower, and our sweet potatoes. The goal is to eat more produce and get a variety of different colors in diet. We're going to get a variety of different um, nutrients and vitamins within those fruits and vegetables. And then I can't leave you without some plant-based recipes, especially if you're new to eating more plant-based or need some new ideas in your weekly recipes. So I have to say at our house, the honey sriracha tofu is one of our favorites. I can get everyone in our family to eat this one. And this is where you marinate tofu. So kind of the process I talked you through a little bit earlier. Roasted sweet potatoes and black bean nachos. Those are absolutely delicious, and especially as we head into fall time. A vegetarian Thai and rice bowl. So you can see there's many different plant-forward recipes here, and these all in the module are clickable, so you can click to download these recipes. And then, right, sorry, I'm just trying to go to the chat too. And then I want to open it up for discussions here. So that's the kind of where we're going to end for plant-based eating. And if anyone has any questions about that or vouchers as well.
Yes, happy to answer any voucher questions or unique offer code questions. That was a really great question about the rice, and I wasn't completely sure on it either because I knew there was something about resistant starch with the rice. So I did find a quick PubMed article, and you are correct, Lori, in that it does reduce the glycemic index of the rice because it's kind of converts some of that starch within the rice to resistant starch, which doesn't raise your blood sugar quite as quickly. So that is a good way to potentially keep your blood sugar a little bit more stable.
Thanks for looking that up, Beth.
Yeah,
I knew the potatoes because we recently had a webinar on that one.
but I'll happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you can even believe it, next week is the last week of the cohorts, week 6. And I see all these people in the chat. When will we receive the vouchers? Haven't received any vouchers. Um, Great question, guys. I have been trying to get a hold of the My Michigan folk. I actually got a meeting on the calendar with them next week to kind of talk through this. Potentially, I haven't been told anything. Maybe they're waiting to send all the vouchers out at the end because I was under the impression we were doing a twofold. We were doing one at halfway through the program and then one at the end. But as soon as I have more information, I will most definitely share. And we've got some participants Kelly has put in the chat, all the people who have put their names in, please make sure if you're on the chat right now that you have been accounted for, because we want to make sure you get credit so you get those vouchers. Because I know you will get them. I know you will get the unique offer code or the voucher or the farmer's market voucher. I just don't have a timeline for you all
Brenda, are
at
you
this
in
point.
Isabella region as well? Just curious if it's one region that hasn't sent theirs out yet.
Well, here's a question. Oh, Brenda said yes.
Mm.
Who has received? Has there been folks out there who have gotten them via email, via snail mail? Don't all talk at once. Oh, Sarah, great. In Mount Pleasant, if you have the Meyer app, there's a barcode in the app that allows you to not have to put in your number.
Oh, when you're entering your M perks in a,
In at the gas station? That what you mean, Brad?
or like you can scan your M perks barcode at checkout?
Because it's very slow at the gas pump when you're trying to put your M perks in.
Yes, at
You can
checkout. There's a
even add
barcode.
it to your wallet. Okay, cool. All right.
You're
So
teaching us
folks do
some
that.
things. Mm.
Received codes, waiting for new ones. The first one worked. Okay, just put it in the promo code box on the app. Uh, Amber Lee, did you have any problems doing that with the
No,
first
first
code?
code,
Was it an
super
easy?
easy. I had no issues. You would let us know about the $10, so I'd already had, it loaded up with like $20 worth of produce.
Mhm.
And easy peasy, just I'm waiting for the other ones to work.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad at least that one worked. You saw how to do it. You got it done without any problems. Have you used it yet?
Yep, I actually used it yesterday. We had taco salad for dinner and it was delicious.
Perfect. Oh, good. I'm
Awesome.
so glad. It went off without a hitch. Thank you for commenting.
No problem. Thank you for the doctors.
Yes. Oh, okay. So Joan had a good point here is she received an email to pick up her vouchers for the Midland Farmers Market at the My Michigan tent at the farmers market. So that might be um another way to get them is if the My Michigan folk have tents at your local markets, you will be able to pick up things there. Kathy said, yes, the first one worked for us. So all the others you will receive will work in the exact same way as the first one you received. And again, I do appreciate everybody's patience as we work through this because this is the first time we've done these unique offer codes. And actually, the person I work with on our Meyer team didn't even know that this would happen. He had to work with somebody else to figure it out. And we all are working on behind the scenes to make sure everything is trying to go as smoothly as possible. So now we know for next time. So thank you again for your patience as we hope to get you lots of money for produce in the near future. Haven't tried any yet. Well, that's okay. Well, we are glad to be here. The comment was, I'm glad that Meyer picked up the program after the original was cut. So we're happy to be here, happy to be your redemption site, happy to be sharing all of our our love for nutrition with all of you. That's why we went into it. So
Thank you,
thank you.
Lori, for saying that.
In that same vein, I wanted to let you know that after the completion of the program, you will get if if you'd like, you would get an additional unique offer code or whatever incentive you chose if you complete the post test. There was a pre-test you completed that asked about the amount of fruits and vegetables and all the things you ate and drank, and there's a post test for that as well. Additionally, I'm going to send out a separate survey just for the group because I want to know what you liked, what you didn't like, what could have been better, what day of the week might work better, what time of day might work better, and would really appreciate all of your insights so we can improve this as we're moving forward because we really want to improve as much as possible. So be on the lookout for that in a couple weeks, and I'll just send that as a link to your email.
All
So,
right. Well, if we don't have any more questions coming in, then we will plan on being here same time for the last session next week. Hope everyone has a good day.